Good day, everyone, and welcome back to another video from the Demon Overlord. Today, I'm going to be coming at you with some recent acquisitions and some even finished paint jobs for the miniature collection slash library for making my player's life a living nightmare. Or am I kidding? Man, we'll see. Now, first off, I'm going to talk about eBay really quick. eBay is a great place to get miniatures, guys. I know some people say it's horrible. People have ridiculous prices. And they're not wrong. Sometimes it is. But it's just every now and then I always do a little check to see what there is. Sometimes I get lucky. This is how I found these three lovely lots from the same seller that the person just no one was interested in. And a shame for them, because I will do a comparison of what this would cost to buy from a name brand site such as Miniature Market, a very popular one that even I still frequently check on occasion. And it's from a lovely set from Dungeons Deep, a greatly sought after Pathfinder set. Let's get started, shall we? So here, first up, we have this very nice dwarf female miniature. And no, that's not the camera's fault, guys. Unfortunately, her face painting on this one wasn't that great. Sometimes the disadvantage of Pathfinder's miniatures, they don't use enough wash. Sometimes now don't get me wrong, sometimes Wizard of the Coast miniatures, they get too much wash. This one could have used just a small fraction, so I'll probably have to go in with a little brush and touch it up a little later. But still a nice dwarf to get. Now, normally on Miniature Market, she would cost $3 whole. Part of the set I got her for, I will give the final price of the entire set of lots in the end at the final. So she's 3. Let's see if you can keep track. Now here we have our lovely little dwarf warrior-esque woman. I don't remember what she's called because I really honestly didn't need to notice. We have her up next to some comparisons. So to her left, we actually have her next to one of the Reaper Bones Dwegar, or at least I painted it as a Dwegar. We also have her next from after him. We have a World of Warcraft dwarf holding a boomstick. Yeah, that's right. I call my guns boomsticks. I'm kind of lazy that way, and the fact that I don't have a problem with calling it that because it sounds kind of cool. Another one to the other side of her, we have the unpainted dwarf. It's just a dwarf barbarian. And then we have another Pathfinder miniature, which once again, the face department suffers a little bit, but not as much. Slightly better. It's the, dwarf. Wow, sorry. My brain just totally just conked out on me for a second there. The bard. And then we also have just a simple, I guess I'd call him a fisherman dwarf, maybe, or like a worker dwarf. He's got a little net and an axe there. That's another one I painted myself. The barbarian and that fisherman guy I painted myself. So, and of course, the fisherman guy in the end is, I don't know what brand he is. He's just a group of miniatures I got from another lot in the past that just had a bunch of dwarves for like $2, and I couldn't beat that with a stick. So, as I can say though, she's a good dwarf, not too bad. Let's get on to the next one, shall we? Next up, another miniature that was quite interesting to get in general. This was the Mouthing Horror. That's what Pathfinder calls them. I would just call this a Gibbering Mouther, as I plan to use this for D&D. Now, the color scheme with that humanoid skin tone, like a barbarian flesh, if I go with Army Painter, it disturbs me, but in a good way. Creeps me out. That's a good point. You want to make sure they do that, or else, what's the point of using a Gibbering Mouther if it doesn't creep you out a little bit? Now we're going to compare it to a D&D or Wizards of the Coast based Gibbering Mouther. There we are, and as you can see, the size is a little off. It's a little bit on the shrimpier side. It doesn't have that tentacle arm coming off and as much sprouting, but it does have a lot of tongues coming out of its orifices. Creepy enough nonetheless. As well as the Gibbering Mouther, though, on the right there from Wizards, seems to have a little bit more teeth going on and multiple jaws inside of jaws. So that multiple jaw row type deal. And that's creepy enough as well. But like I said, that for some reason, that barbarian flesh, like more human-like skin tone, just burdens me. And the Demon Overlord is uncomfortable. But uncomfortable in a pleasant way for a miniature that does the job. A very nice miniature. Once again, I think this one was actually a $5 miniature. So I could be wrong. I think it might have been 3. I could be wrong. I don't have my list on me at the moment. I'll look that up in a second. There we are. Sorry, I had to grab my list. I felt I should. The first was a Dwarf Sundering Axe, number 22. She was an uncommon. We have the Mouth Horror. I thought it was mouthing for some reason. That was also uncommon at $5. So, not too bad so far once I get to that final price. Let's move on to the next mini, though, shall we? Next up here, we actually have the Chupacabra miniature. So, a miniature based on popular crypto creatures that already exist. Now, this is not based on the canine like one you would hear of from Texas or the southern US, or the monkey based like one you hear of the more demonic looking little monkey like creature that lives in Puerto Rico and other more like actual countries down there. This one has got a more reptilian look to it, and I must say, I do like it. Now, I have placed behind it two lovely flying chupacabras, which to me is unusual. Are we trying to say that when chupacabras get older, they grow larger? For some reason, love to scream at things and grow wings? I must say, I do like the sculpt of the first chupacabra more. As you can see, it has a lovely little row of dorsal spines going down its back, such as its larger cousins there, or larger family, I don't know, whatever. And now I would actually go with an interesting lore, I'm going to say this as I go, for the Chupacabra. It is a common creature. It was $3 on Miniature Market if I wanted to buy it from that site. But continuing on, I would have this creature be more like maybe a pet to vampires, where maybe it goes and hunts the blood of livestock or anything it happens to come across, bringing it back to the vampire overlord, saying as it maybe gets some itself as a reward for doing a good job. Or maybe it collects some organ meat as well for like that nice bloody organ meat and brings it back to the vampire overlords. Maybe the flying chupacabra is one granted even more vampirical like power to this creature and allows it to fly. And of course, just giving it lore so you could use it in D&D and not have to copy exactly from Pathfinder or whatever its origin is. As like I said, I don't play Pathfinder. At some point, I will buy bestiaries just so I can make sure I'm on lore with these things for all you Pathfinder fans I have that watch me. And as always, guys, if you're new to the channel, I welcome you. I'm very friendly that way. Anyway, moving on to the next miniature. So here we've moved on to a lovely demon called the Andrasku demon. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. These are common miniature, but ones I was actually hoping to get my hands on at some point. They have an interesting sculpt. They were $3 on the Miniature Marker site if I wanted to buy them from there. But one more thing. If you look at them, they have like a lovely little necklace of bones and things, and they have horns on their head. Now, they also have a hoofed feet. So, unusual also how the one arm on the side is like less hair covered and the other arm is completely hair covered. And I've set them next to a couple of creatures that are very similar in the fact of size and look. You have the Tyrs. Now, we do have two white Tyrs, one behind, one in front. And then we also have a Tyr I recently repainted to make it more of like a forest Tyr. Which, if you don't know what Tyrs are, they are an older class creature, usually a very stench-ridden, primate-esque creature. Similar to Bigfoot, but more primate like a gorilla as they do walk on the knuckles as actually like Yetis do. So actually what I like to do with Tyrs, because it makes an interesting life cycle for the Yetis, I actually use Tyrs as like a juvenile Yeti, as a stand-in. Because you have the Yeti Tyke from Frostmaiden, which are a very awesome miniature. Different types of Yetis available, as well as the Wizards and even the Pathfinder Yetis, both useful. And then you have the awesome Abominable Yeti that came with the Yeti Tyke in that same set from the Frostmaiden. And man, it makes it good to have the full life cycle. Now these Andrasku demons, you might be saying, why'd you put them with Tyrs for that type of idea? I actually think these Tyrs would be a nice stand-in for Yetis in the juvenile stage about to become adults, which are large class, because they've grown the horns. So you could use these as a two-stager for young juvenile Yetis. Tyrs being a representation for the miniature of them as a fresh juvenile, and then these being like juvenile slash sub-adult to adult stage. And as we know, Abominable Yetis being like the kind of grandfather-esque or like the equivalency of an ancient dragon. They're the big tough dogs that are the big rulers. These would be nice to stand in because they also show signs of being intelligent with a necklace. And at the same time, you just have to ignore the hoofed feet. I mean, Yetis also already have horns, so it works really fine. So a great miniature and great to get two of these. Like I said, normally they would have cost probably $6 total from the miniature market site. Now let's move on, shall we, to another miniature. Okay, here we are to the next one. This is called the Elder Thing. And I'm not kidding you, that's literally its name. It's called the Elder Thing. Obviously based on the Elder Things from Lovecraftian horror. So, well done, Pathfinder. You caught the creepiness that Lovecraftian creatures bring to the world already in the Necronomicon, or that lore-esque universe. It has, as you can see, multiple tendrils, tentacle-like feet. It gets a reddish color up on its barrelish body with 5 eye stalks on top and a mouth on top of that. That's creepy looking. It also has a set of simple translucent-ish wings. The wings are, I couldn't get to the lighting angle that would properly show this off to you, so I am sorry. The Elder thing, according to this, isn't uncommon. It was actually $6 on Miniature Market, and these are the most recent pricings for these miniatures. So they always do fluctuate on Miniature Market, as you know. But Dungeons Deep seem pretty stable. They've been like this for a whole week, as far as I can tell, getting this video ready for you folks, because Hydra makes good. And yes, I am aiming the Dwarf's boomstick specifically at this Elder thing, because I would personally be like, oh my gosh, kill it with fire, blow it away, because it terrifies me. I mean, a creature like this in front of me, I wouldn't want to be the guy who has to attack it first in the group. That's the one thing I would say. Definitely wouldn't mind following up, because then it's got the other guy in front to deal with. But I definitely don't want to be first. But I would definitely say, kill it, burn it with fire. Not kidding. Next up, I thought I would switch it to the large creatures. Now, these are a 2 in single review because, well, they're basically, as you can see, the same creature. They are the Dire Boar from Pathfinder. Now, these are actually very sought-after Dire Boars because, as you can see, they look really nice. They're great large class giant monster to throw your party because they're not too bad in combat. They can make an interesting encounter because they could be leading a singular of boars, which, yes, that is the proper term for a group of wild boar is singular. I believe there is another one, but it's also like for regular pigs, so I felt to avoid that. And this guy on Miniature Market costs $9 by itself. And I got 2 of them, because I got 1 for each lot. Almost as like buying basically a booster box of each type. So in the end, I mean, if I was, say, buying booster boxes, it'd be around, I'd say $45 at this rate if I was getting 3 booster boxes of a well-loved pack, because most places will sell for that. So let's compare these 2 big boars, shall we? There we go, and now you can see them next to the 2 versions of wild or other pig-like monsters you could find. For instance, you have the, I can't remember what that piglet is called from Pathfinder. I never do, but it's just, I call it the pet pig or baby pig because it just looks like a baby with a big fat head. It's also next to 2 large unpainted wild boars, a normal creature, which is great that we're getting animals from the unpainted line so people can paint them as they want. I gave 1 a more gray paint job, 1 a more brown paint job. And then we have the lovely Reaper Bones giant boar behind it, or Dire Boar. As I don't know if those are supposed to be spikes as back frill, but I just painted them as part of its back fur because I was not in the mood for another creature with spikes, because I don't understand why all dire animals have giant spikes. I mean, the fact they're giant and a whole size class larger than you can see is their average kin, and even their domesticated kin, distant kin, sorry, are very, very good, and you can tell the difference usually on the board, especially with miniatures. But once again, lovely miniatures. I'm great to have these because I love the look. These have that more sort of Eurasian boar with the big humped back, similar to the Reaper Bones there. But the other advantage is, A, I did not have to waste my time. I didn't have to paint these things. Sorry, not waste my time. I actually enjoy painting. And B, they have a great sculpt. One that literally, I think, looks great on any board needing some boars for any reason, including just a simple cameo. Let's get on, though, shall we, to a different miniature. So here we have the Mining Beetle. And now, before I say it, this one seems to never be in stock on Miniature Market. So something tells me this guy, similar to the Dire Boars, is very sought after, but because they only sell him for a cheap price of $3, being a common miniature, they must be going out fast. People must be wanting these, and I mean, considering Dungeons and Dragons uses a lot of dungeons, there would be no reason why you couldn't find mining beetles, a burrowing beetle species, being used by others in the dungeon, or your party in the dungeon, or just random animals in the dungeon. I see no reason why these would not be something to have a couple of. Now, I only got 1, unfortunately, in one of my lots. But hey, it's good to at least get one of these things. I couldn't even find them on Miniature Market for a good deal. And on other eBay, when you're looking for just this thing, oh boy, it can actually be way more expensive than simply buying it from the Miniature Market option. Well, let's do a quick comparison to some other big old arthropodias, shall we? There we go. And now we have it compared next to the Reaper Bones Ankeg. I could have used the D&D Ankeg, but I didn't feel like cluttering the board with too many big bugs for comparison. Now we have one of the older monstrous scorpions. I think it's actually the Fiendish Giant Scorpion, which is one of my more favorite sculpts, considering it has a very thicker body than even the Tomb of Annihilation Giant Scorpion, which I wish they had gone with this design. It has a lot more of a menacing presence. We also have it next to the simple fire beetle, another beetle many eventually take as they happen to produce light, a very useful feature, which maybe this could be the cousin of the mining beetle if you want it for surprise. And then to the right there, we have the big, impressive, newly released from the Pathfinder series, a giant stag beetle. And you know what? A lot of people actually complained they weren't a big fan of that yellow carapace, the yellowish colored carapace. But I must say, it grew on me and I did like it. I like the yellow and purple. Not only is that color combination have a significance to my schooling days, but it's a very lovely beetle nonetheless. It helps show a lot of details on it and makes it look quite cool and quite interesting. And it looks good, that mining beetle, I mean, next to these fellow bug compatriots. And being our $3 hard to locate miniature, it's a good snag for sure. Now here we have two simple but useful creatures, the gnolls. And these two are the, sorry, not just gnolls, they are the gnoll warriors. They are 12 out of the set. On top of that, they're actually common, but they're $5. Now, there is one thing we're definitely going to be going over. And sorry, that's $5 on Miniature Market. Remember, my prices I'm speaking of now are Miniature Market prices. I'll do what I actually paid for this lot later to show what eBay can guarantee you is a great saving. Now, these gnolls, they're simple. They have some armor. They've got some nice spears. They've got like some good little waist weaponry, and they kind of look more like Dogmen only because they're just sort of different compared to other gnoll miniatures. Let's show some of those in comparison, shall we? So here we have them standing shoulder to shoulder, or in this case, front and of a gnoll leader and his fellow gnolls. Now, this is kind of like a gnolls across the ages. We have an older gnoll warrior that's sitting there with a screaming pose. We have a gnoll archer, which had a very interesting color design back then. We also have a gnoll in the background. It's just a standard, it just says gnoll. We have another gnoll warrior up there to the farthest left of the screen. Over there we have a raider gnoll from the, I think it was called the Village Raider set, from like the one that had the gnolls with a couple goblins in it. And then we have a fiendish gnoll, or a Flynn gnoll in the background. He's not as important because everyone's seen it. It's from the newer sets. I think it was actually, I think this one was from the Mad Mage. I could have been wrong. I don't remember. Not that important. Most those Flynns are superbly common, and if you haven't seen one by now, check out one of my older videos where I reviewed that guy. Obviously, I did that in there. Probably either, yeah, it wasn't Frostmane. Frostmane had a cool like Frost Gnoll. I should have put that on there as a combination. A mistake. But we got the cool Pack Leader Gnoll up there, which is kind of cool with his big axe and skull headpiece and behind those two boys. And as you can see, though, Pathfinder once again made an interesting choice. They made their gnolls very tiny and shrimpy. They're not as close to being as tall as the gnolls of Wizards, which is weird. It's like with the Giants, they decided to downsize them. At least they didn't put them on a small base, though, or make them a small creatures that were medium, so whatever. It works. They fit fine enough. Definitely great. I can see why they're $5 as getting gnolls in general to make a nice gnoll army. It takes a little bit of effort, and it's totally worth it to get a lovely couple of these guys in from the lots that I got. Let's move on, shall we? So here we have the Orcade Jelly miniature, and by far the most expensive if buying it from Miniature Market. This one itself is uncommon and costs an $11 on its own. So, in the end, it's a little even more pricey than the Direboars, but another good miniature if you can get one. These Orcades are definitely sought after. Also hard to keep in stock on Miniature Market as well as anywhere else. People buy these whenever they find them. One, they're cool. Orcade Jelly miniatures are not very common. They're hard to find. And this made it totally worth the effort of like bidding for this thing and winning it surprisingly easily. And inside of it, if you can actually see it, there is a small skeleton of a wolf. Sorry, I'm trying to... There we go. You can see it's got a little skeleton inside. I just have to use my hand there to help block some of the light, which I think it's supposed to be a wolf. I could be wrong. Now let's do a comparison to some other slimes, see how it stacks up, shall we? So here we have a big assortment of slimes, I would definitely say. Sorry, just had to quick altercate that. We have a good assortment of slimy creatures to compare this to. We have on the right there, we have what I'm using as I think it's a flame vampire according to Arkham Horror, but I'm using it as an adult Oblex because I don't have an Oblex miniature and I have not seen them come out, but I think they've recently are going to come out with one in the new set from the Boneyard. So that's a reason I'm going to hopefully get one from the Boneyard. Hopefully. It is a matter of chance. Over there to the far left, we have another one from the Arkham Horror that's just a green slime. I don't know what else it was called. I didn't really even need to base it. It's kind of already big. I could have, yes, put on a large base. I probably should have. But I like to keep that underside open because if I happen to have any small little pieces I want to put underneath, like a potion, terrain scatter, or like a book, I could put it underneath it. And it's like a surprise to the group that, hey, it left something behind. But right next to him, we have the Rolling Oil, a Pathfinder monster that is like a slime but made of oil and is flammable. Or at least I make it flammable, because nothing's worse to an adventurer when they hit it with Fireball, their friends inside, and oh boy, you just set your friend on fire. Oh, you get a dope moment like Homer where you've just made a mistake. In front of that, we have a small giant amoeba, which I like the little critter, it's cute. And sitting next to my lovely Orcade, and as you can see, he stacks up great. Behind the Rolling Oil, we do have a gelatinous cube just for scaling of size, and then we have our two puddings there to the right. Behind the Flame Vampire with a tracker slime inside the Orcade. Yes, that one behind the other Orcade is another Orcade. I painted it that way because I had a black pudding unpainted. I thought about painting him as a black pudding, but I already have two of the three different black pudding miniatures. I don't need another, so I painted it to look like an Orcade jelly, and I was definitely happy about that. It looked great. It still does. But now it's great to have two different Orcade jellies because they seem to work together if you think about it. Orcade jellies swarm their target with warmth and they swarm it and eat it. Or maybe these are two Orcade jellies left over from the splitting of a huge one to surprise your group. Now, let's get to the final of these miniatures for eBay. Now, so here we have a full shot of every miniature that I had purchased from the eBay lots. We have our lovely dwarf. We have the two I don't want to say their names. I always say it wrong if I don't read it. The two demons, the two giant direboars, the chupacabra, the mining beetle, the two gnolls, that mouth horror, and the elder thing, that Lovecraftian creep show. Now, I paid a nice total of around $25.36 for these three combined. Luckily, I had a great eBay seller who also refunded me the shipping of what would have been for separate lots, as they realized I could just send it for one single shipping that may be a little improved to send them all in one, and I was definitely grateful. They came in great condition, nicely packaged each individually, so they were very well conditioned. And now comparing that to Miniature Market, if I put these all together, even getting the shipping in there and all of that, we had a big surprise. And the total, if I ordered this from Miniature Market, was $77.67 for these lovely bad boys. Wow, I literally saved a boatload going this way. Almost a 1/3 of the price. So once again, guys, eBay can be a great source. Do I always recommend it for everything? No. Give it time, search for things, you might find a better deal, and plus on a lovely set of Dungeons Deep, a very sought after line. So anyway, guys, as always, I hope you have a safe one out there. Please do like and subscribe. Helps keep the channel rolling. And do check out our podcast for the Dice and Dummies. We're hoping to get ready for that live stream of our first episode of Season 3 very soon. If you have any questions, guys, comment down below. And make sure to ring that notification bell if you're not subscribed already. And hit that second notification bell to make sure it's properly done. YouTube's strange algorithm and all. Anyway, guys, as before, have a great one. Stay safe out there. And see you next time. Goodbye.